committee conference paper or a journal paper. Then after you've written a journal, definitely you need to present. So we're talking about presenting the paper. So we start with the first outline of our presentation, that is writing the abstract. You can call it a paper proposal. Before you be accepted into a meeting, what I mean by a meeting is maybe a conference, SPE conference. The initial stage is that they will request for an abstract. This is not a final abstract. This is just the proposal, but basically we call it an abstract. And what is this abstract? It is just the concise summary of the paper topic you want to present when you are accepted into the meeting. It should be very short. And generally it is not more than 350 words. Please take note of some of these things because it is key. If it goes beyond 350, your document wouldn't be accepted and you will not be part of the meeting or the conference. The proposal should be able to explain the uniqueness of your paper that you want to share. It should be coherent. What I mean is it should be clear in your writing style. It must be good because you have only one chance with the program committee. When you send your documents to them, they will not send it back to you that correct this, that, or that. So if it must be done, it must be done well because you have one chance. It is like a probability, just one chance for you to convince the program committee that indeed your proposal is good, and for that matter, your paper will also be good. So a good paper must start with a plan, good plan of course. It should be able to relate the paper to the scope of the meeting. The meeting is basically the conference or the journal that I'm talking about. So maybe that meeting is for let's say reservoir engineering or enhanced oil recovery, or let's say optimization of drilling operations and the rest. So hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes,
Hello.
we
We can hear you.
No problem. Oh, okay, then that is fine. Somebody muted me also. So it must start with a good plan, as I said. Every meeting has a scope. So for example, if the meeting is drilling operation, optimization of drilling operation, or related to drilling, you cannot send a, let's say, reservoir paper. What it means that it's out of scope. Whatever you want to present to the committee for them to select, please present useful information. They don't have time for information that are not useful. We don't have time. You know, there are a lot of people who apply for the abstract to be accepted. So if your information is not very useful, there is no way your abstract is going to be accepted. You should be able to explain some sort of methodology that you are going to use. It should be presented in such a way that it is technical. So we say it should be technically sound. And there must be a conclusion that is supported with solid evidence. So note some of these things. There are some material specifics. Maybe we want to present new information or technology, or you may want to present new interpretation. Maybe there is an old technology or old topic, and the interpretation is good, is bad, and you want to really present something to interpret it again. That one too is allowed. But before you start writing the abstract or the proposal to the committee, the program committee, maybe you may be working in Schlumberger, maybe you're a student working somewhere. Because you're going to use company data, you need to ask permission from your company. You must seek their approval to write the paper, because maybe the data that you are going to take is from a company. You are working in a company and you may want to travel, because some of these things you need to travel for the presentation. So if you don't seek their approval, your abstract will be accepted, and it will be so embarrassing that your company will not allow you. So ensure that you have approval if you are working, maybe in Schlumberger or Tullow or wherever. You need to make sure that you have the approval. You must also survey existing literature. Very, very important. We don't want you to repeat what has been done. We are going to share new technology, maybe explain old technology. You need to survey. Maybe what you want to explain, somebody has already done it, so there won't be any need. So one of the sources that you can visit is 1Petri, right? You can go to 1Petri. Find out, survey, and see whether the topic you want to share, it is not already in the system, or it has not been written by somebody. So I say survey existing literature. So it must be related. You can take it from 1Petri, read and see, type and see whether what you want to present is already in existence. If you don't submit an abstract, then there will be no paper. And if there is no paper, you will not get the podium to do any presentation. So we must note some of these things. And you must meet deadline. It is very, very important. You must meet deadline. If you're expecting your abstract, which is the proposal, the initial stage, to be accepted, please, SPE deadlines are very, very important. You can have a very good abstract, but if you're not able to meet abstract deadline, then there's no paper. And if there's no paper, you don't have any podium to present your knowledge for people to know. I'm talking about this abstract because it's very, very important. So what is the characteristics of a good abstract? A good abstract, you have a good title, because the people that you want, there should be title before the abstract comes. Good title. Title must be direct. It must be short and informative. Later on, we will talk about some good titles. Then the abstract, I've already said, it shouldn't go beyond 350 words. And it's a concise summary of the paper. It should be able to indicate new and significant information and conclusions. Please, your abstract must be good. If you want to be selected into that program or meeting, then your abstract must be good. You need to take your time, because that is the initial stage. If it is not accepted, there is no paper, and you will not have any opportunity to present that paper in that meeting. So please note it. You should explain the uniqueness of what you want to present. So I say that good abstract explains what makes your paper unique. Now, because we want to succeed, we want to find out, how do I improve my chances to succeed in terms of my proposal being accepted? There are certain things you need to do. So we have the do's and the don'ts. If you want your abstract to be accepted or your proposal to be accepted for that meeting, you need to organize your thoughts very well. This is technical paper, so we are not going to write some poem or whatever. So we want simple sentences, right? If you are the best English teacher or whatever, we want simple sentences. If you want your abstract to succeed, want to improve on that, then make sure that you use language that is common. Use terminologies that are common. Don't just say, I have sent my abstract and it's fine. Because if your abstract or your proposal is not accepted, I keep on saying, there's no paper. So you need to proofread your paper. That is the abstract I'm talking about, your proposal. There are a lot of people, they will just write, and that's all. Expecting that, oh, I want to present. They will not get people to come for that meeting. Who told you? There are a lot of people who have applied, submitted their proposal for them to be considered for that meeting. So if you don't proofread your document, there is no way you will succeed. You are going to tell a story. So if you want to succeed, if you want your abstract to be accepted, then your story in the abstract must be technically. The emphasis here is technically. It is not just like you are reading dailies, right? So if it is drilling, we want to know the technical aspect in the abstract. If it is enhanced oil recovery, if it is maybe using AI to solve one petroleum problems or production problems, we must see the technical aspect in the paper. And in there, you should be able to tell us what you are going to contribute. So clearly, the emphasis here is that you must clearly show the contribution your paper will make in your abstract. You want to succeed. Please don't do this or this. There are people, they don't proofread their document. So when you take the document or the abstract to read, you realize that there are a lot of errors. We don't have time. So we will just put it somewhere. We will just tell you that your document or your abstract is not accepted for this meeting. We are sorry. Why? Because there are a lot of spelling and grammar errors. Please do not make grammar or spelling errors. That is why I say proofread. Proofread. Proofread until at least you can give me somebody to also proofread. Please, if you want your proposal to be accepted, don't exceed the word count. There is a limitation. It shouldn't be more than 350 words. And don't use what we call run-on sentences in your proposal and there is no connection, that type of sentence. And everything and through you don't see the connection. Keep your sentences very simple. In your proposal, references are not allowed. It's an abstract. Abstract is what belongs to you. So you shouldn't be stating this and this, that, Twitter in your abstract. No, references are not allowed. It's the abstract. Abstract is your abstract. It's your own summary of what you have done. So you don't reference. We don't put figures and tables in abstract in your proposal if you want to succeed. When we see some of these things, there's no way you will succeed. Maybe you are coming from a company and you want to sell the company. So there are a lot of sales there. Please do not include them. If you do this, then there is no way you are going to succeed. And your document wouldn't be accepted. They will reject. So at the end of the day, you cannot send your full paper. Now, submitting your abstract. Here I'm talking about the proposal, but we still call it SP, call it abstract. They will give you an instructions. You want you to follow the instructions. It will come with an instructions. They will ask you, add names, add emails. Please do it. Emails, both the author and the co-authors. They will give you an online link for you to follow. Please, when you are done with your proposal, please follow the link and be able to submit. Then wait patiently to see whether you will succeed. So writing the paper. We are done with the abstract. We are assuming when we follow the procedures, our paper will be accepted. So let us write. Our paper has been accepted. So we need to plan our paper. So planning your paper. So you are getting started. Organize your thought. And your thought must flow in a clear way, coherent way. To be able to let your thought flow very well, you are like SB will send you what you call author kits. It has a lot of resources and deadlines. It comes with templates that you need to follow. All these informations are very, very important, and it will help you to organize your thoughts very well. So let's note that. Yes, you survey existing literature. It helps you to organize your thought, the way your paper will flow. Don't just say I have a topic and straight away I have data I want to. There may be somebody who have already written the paper before. The same, topic and even methods are the same. So in your planning process, literature review, survey, go to OnePetro. Get good references for your paper. Good. And in surveying your literature, these are very, very important. That is why you need to have a very good topic, because when you go through one Petro, we want to know whether the paper is really attracting you, right? So even your work that you want to present, your topic or your title must also attract people. So we look for attraction. The attraction is the title going to attract you. Then you read the abstract to see and the conclusion whether there is a link between what you are reading and what you want to do. Sometimes you skim the headings and the graphics to see whether there is a link. So I call it the ABC, where the B is balance. Whether what the person has written, there is the paper was written very well. Your paper can be technically sound, but the communication may be bad. The way it has been written may be bad. Bad English. So at the end of the day, it will be very difficult for you to present and share your technical content. So in surveying, you look for people that has a very good technical content, but also well written. Writing quality is very, very important. As you read and you will not understand. So maybe you are looking for OnePetro, definitely will be English. But you are looking for maybe literature somewhere and it's in Spanish or something, and you cannot even read to understand. So in other words, when you also write, you must make sure that the writing is quality. Balance it with the technical content. Then the paper or the paper that you want to read or survey to see whether the information has already been shared, or to get information that will make your work very good quality, to have a very good or quality paper. You also check the content. And here the content, we are talking about right amount of details, right? The people are looking at it. Whether the method that they even use, they have explained it very well. So we are talking about sufficient explanation of the method. Does it even apply to your situation that you want to write, the topic that you want to write? So you think about all these things. But in planning your paper again, ask yourself about 5 questions also. Going through the literature and what is your lesson learned from those existing literature and the rest? 2, what should the reader understand from your work? You see? Because you are going to write a paper. Think about the audience, those who are going to read. What do you want them to know? The paper you want to write, you're asking yourself, in planning, ask yourself this question. How does my work differ from similar paper? So to write a very good paper, it is not just taking a topic, get the data, no. There are a lot of work that goes into it. If you want your paper to be cited, you need to plan and ask yourself some of these questions. What useful information did you derive from the literature survey? You read the literature? You're asking yourself questions. The people you want to write, who is your target audience? So if you are talking about maybe reservoir, it means the people you are targeting, they will understand reservoir terms. You don't want to explain it to them as if you are teaching maybe those who are not technical people. You know your audience, so you should be able to communicate to the audience. So in planning, you ask yourself, who am I going to communicate to? So who is your target audience? So audience is very, very important. I want to maybe share some information on your audience. I want you to remember them because they are going to read and cite your paper. You want to share your knowledge. And they must read. So know your audience. So you must identify them. AI, reservoir, safety in the oil and gas industry, well testing, maybe the conference for well testing, maybe new technology in horizontal drilling, and the rest. Identify your audience. And you can identify your audience with the help of the conference team. So you know that these audience are basically, they are going to be drilling audience or whatever. And these are the basic needs of audience. Their problem. They want to know the problem. Why did you conduct the project, the paper you want to present? The audience want to know the problems. You present problems to them, they want to know the problem. There must also be solution. What did you contribute to the industry knowledge? Knowledge to the industry. I remember, you see, there are some conference that when you go, there are sessions. People will be moving from session A, B, C, D to whatever. If you don't have an interesting topic and the rest, nobody will come to that session. They will not even be ready to listen to you because they are looking for value. So the audience will ask you, why should I even listen to you? Am I going to save money? Am I going to save time? Is it going to help me in my practice as an engineer? So you should be able to identify your audience and be able to meet their needs. Now, doing this, you want to find out what are the basic outline of a manuscript or a paper. You can have a title, it has an abstract, introduction, theory and definition, equipment and processes that you need to explain, data and results. You will conclude. If perhaps you want to acknowledge somebody, acknowledgement is there, then there will be a reference. You cannot write paper without reference. We'll go into details. How do I adapt to this basic outline? Maybe your paper is a laboratory study. You want to explain experimental method and the rest. Some of you may be a case study. So there can be a data you have gotten before and you perform something that you compare the two data. You can call it a field application. Or your own is just a simulation. You want to explain certain variables, assumptions, and key factors. You still have to use the basic outline that I talked about earlier on. Now, the quality of your paper. As of a quality journal paper, title is there, Abstract is there. Introduction is there. You need to introduce. It is not sequential, so please don't think it's sequential, but it looks like, but it's not sequential. You ask of your material and methods that you want to use. Then the results, see, results, plural. Discussion. You don't say discussions. Discussion. Then you will conclude. But the journal also have authors. The authors are there. And people will have references. References are also there. Sometimes you have a lot of data, and the data wouldn't be part of the body, the main body. It can be sent as an appendix. The people will have a table, figures, nomenclature, depending on whatever you want to explain. You may also want to acknowledge these informations or thematic areas are the parts of a quality conference paper or journal paper. This information will definitely be part of the paper. So you may not have an appendix depending on the data. You may not have a nomenclature, but authors will be there, references will be there. I mean, technical paper will have tables. You should have some figures to explain some trend. You may have to acknowledge and the other aspects, but the nomenclature and appendix, depending on the data that you have. Now, I'm going to take each of them and explain. Your journal paper or conference paper must have a title. What is a title? The title is basically the highlight of the main point of your paper. The title will definitely highlight the main point of your paper. If I read your title, at least it will be able to give me a fair idea of what is going to be in the paper. Title will attract the reader's attention. So you must have a very good title. For example, if I want to get a literature review from 1Petro, I'm going to search the paper based on the title. So I say it is necessary for archive searches. You search the paper based on the title. So your title must be concise, succinct, straight to the point, brief. Sometimes some of the titles is like a phrase, or a paragraph. A phrase is okay, fine, but some of them is like a whole paragraph. Please, your title should not have company names. So company names or abbreviations. So ADC of oil and gas, whatever. What is ADC? People will be left thinking about maybe ABC is something else. So company names or abbreviations should not appear in the title. So please note this. Let's look at this title, right? Look at the example of a bad title: new methods and specialized technique used by super oil company to process and analyze pressure data gathered during the well testing program at maybe the Jubilee Field. Do you understand this title? It's like a whole paragraph. This one is not concise. It is not straight to the point. Let's look at another bad title. A look ahead, back to basics. What is the person trying to say? Because I told you earlier on, let's go back. I said that the title tells you what is going to be in the paper. This one, a look ahead, back to basics. What are you talking about? Looking ahead of what? So this topic is not clear. So when they see some of these things, I mean, you will not succeed. So let's try to see if we can make the bad title or topic better or good. So the first one, we can say that the well testing program at Elbach Geothermal Field. That's all. So at the end of the, you know that there is a field, and this well testing that we want to talk about is linked to that field. So in your paper, that you talk about the new method, the specialized technique, and the rest. You don't need super oil company process. No, it's basically a well testing program at the Elbach Geothermal Field straight away. So in the body of the paper, you will talk about, maybe if you are describing the paper, the introduction, you will let us know whether it's a new method, the specialized technique, but all these things. So at least we have improved on the title. The first one is bad, and if you have such titles, you will not succeed. The other one, the feature of offshore drilling, contracting business. I'm looking at back to basics. So if you say looking ahead of what? But here, I've been able to tell you what we are looking ahead of. And that is the feature of the oil offshore drilling contracting business. So we are coming back to the business. It's better. Now, the abstract, this is abstract is different from the proposal paper. The paper proposal, let me put it that way, or the first abstract. This abstract is the, let's say, the final abstract that is going to be in your work, the full paper. So as I said, this abstract will definitely have an objective and scope. An abstract there must have methods that you use in executing your job. You should state significant findings or new information. So in other words, I'm talking about stating your principal conclusions. This abstract, which is not the proposal, yes, the proposal or the first abstract. So this is the main abstract in your paper. So this abstract, don't use the proposal abstract. Let me put it that way. The abstract here will be most of the times what you send for your paper to be accepted for the meeting. The abstract is quite different from the abstract in the main paper. So I say, do not use your proposal abstract. And an abstract shouldn't be more than 350 words. This is just something I want you to do. Now, the beginning of your paper is the introduction. Your paper must have an introduction. It was going to describe the author's contribution. You should be able to state clearly or present clearly the nature and the scope of the problem you want to investigate. So introduction clearly presents the nature and the scope of the problem you want to. It must also contain some pertinent literature, right? Linking it to what people have done and how different your own is from the work that has been done by others. So I said, state your method as well of investigation for solving the problem and your justification. So a paper will have, that's the beginning, the introduction will be there. And next one will be the materials and method. Could be a theoretical paper or experimental or case study paper. So a theoretical, you need to state some hypothesis. If there are assumptions, it should be there, definitely. Theoretical development, it should be there. Arguments to demonstrate the applicability of the process because it's theory. Then with experimental or case study papers, you should be able to tell us the purpose of the experiment. You are going to use apparatus. You are going to use equipment. You are going to, there is a procedure. Describe the procedure. How did you use the equipment? You see, some of the procedures, they are not, they are not as a standard. It's a certain procedure that you are using. It's not really standard. You need to describe it. Maybe you develop your own equipment. You need fabricated your own equipment. You have to describe it. The procedure must be described. Why? Because sometimes if we want to reproduce your experiment, we should be able to do it. Because your paper or your research must be rigorous. We should be able to reproduce. So if you don't describe the apparatus, you don't describe the equipment, you don't tell us the procedure. If you want to repeat your equipment, your research, there is no way. So you must do that. Explanation of the data and observations. Maybe you observe something. If you want to make some inferences based on the data that you have presented, it has to be done. It is also part of the case study papers. Now, after your method, straight away, you go to your results and discussion. But results first. The results is the core of the paper. Sometimes it's an experiment or simulation. You have plenty data. Please, we want data that is a representative of the work. Don't just be bringing plenty data. You will read and read. You will not even see the connection. So I said, avoid redundancy. Those that are not important. Avoid many tables. Some people want to demonstrate. They want to tell us that, yes, we have really worked. And they will add a lot of figures, a lot of tables. We avoid them. Go straight to the point. We want a representative data of the work. So avoid using redundancy, those that are not important, many tables and figures. So let me talk about the tables and figures, because definitely it's going to be in your paper. Please, tables and figures are very, very important in technical writing, because you use it to display your visual representation of key findings. Use it. But remember, don't turn the results of simple calculation or supplementary data into tables and figures. Don't do that. But you can do this. You can use graph to show trends. You see, when you do that, show us the trend. Use graph to show us the trend. And all tables must that is in the document must be cited. I mean, you refer in the body of the paper. So table 1, table 2, table 3, or whatever. Use graph to show trends. Then you will discuss. Discussion shows the relationship among observed facts. So what are the components of discussions? State any exceptions or lack of correlations. So in discussing, you need to, if there are exceptions, let us see. If there is no correlation, let us see how your results and the interpretation agree with work that has already been published. It should be in there. You see, if it is a theoretical paper, what is the implication and how are you going to even apply that theory? Your discussion must tell us some of these things. So if it's a theoretical paper and we don't see the possible application of what you have done, then there will be any use of it. So theoretical implication and possible application. It even goes for, let's say, experimental work. Possible application of what has been done. You must take your time and discuss your work for people to understand. If there are lack of correlations, let us know. Then we are almost getting close to the work, writing the paper, quality of the work or the paper. The final one is that after discussion or discussing it, you will conclude. I said conclusions because it will be more than one. If it is one, fine, it's a conclusion. But if more than one, sometimes we make some of these mistakes, right? Some people say results and discussions. No, it's results and discussion. Conclusion is one, fine, it's a conclusion. There are more than one, it's a conclusions. What is the conclusion of your paper? Most of the papers that I write, I prefer numbering my conclusions. I don't know, you can also do that. But there are some people, they will just put everything together, right? With paragraphs, that's fine. So conclusions summarize how the information provided support claims made in the introductions. So it must be tied back to your abstract, right? This abstract is the abstract in the main paper, not the proposal abstract. And the conclusion must be supported by the data that is presented in the paper. So your discussion and everything, you conclude based on that. And that is the data that is presented in the paper. Don't let your discussion be somewhere and it's so disjointed. There's no link between your conclusions and the discussion and the abstract. No. So you can choose to number your conclusions. I do that a lot. So you read some of my, or most of my papers that maybe I'm the first author or I prefer, but if I'm writing with people, any of them, that is fine. So I said numbered conclusions supported by evidence in the paper. So I number some of my conclusions, most of the papers that I write. And we are almost getting there, we'll finish soon. We had references, so we are almost there. References are very, very important in paper writing. And the reference that you cite must be relevant. And it should be referenced in the paper. You have a citation in the paper. Then you have a general referencing, that is the final one. That is not a citation in the text. And this reference should give you all the details that will allow people to further get the information that you use. References also permit authors to compare and contrast present work with other work. So you try to balance it. Compare, contrast what people have done. And in SPE paper writing, please note this. The list of references should be in alphabetical. So I've written here SPE paper. So if your paper presentation is going to be done outside SPE, please check, follow the instruction. They will give you some instructions for you to follow as to how you should cite their reference. But for SPE, you want it in alphabetical order. And if it is an in-text citation, then the author name or the author's name first, followed by the year in parentheses. So in parentheses may be Bruni Bediako, 2014. This is for SPE. So those who want to present a paper or write a paper for consideration, this is what you need to you are supposed to do with respect to SPE. Now, basically the component of a paper. Now you know all these things, you want to start writing. The question is, where do you start? Somebody would think that, oh, I said introduction, so he's going to start with the introduction. You have your data, you have this, you have experiment, you need to write from the known, because you conclude. So we start writing from the conclusion based on your experiment, based on your data, how you conclude. Start from the back, then know the conclusion and be able to write. So whatever you are doing, it will be tied to the conclusion. So backwards, so that you will not do something from the beginning and it will be different from the conclusion that you know. You write from the known. So begin with the conclusion when you are writing. So focus on what you learned in your experiment, in the data, or in your analysis. It is easier to write from the known, so that everything will be tied to the conclusion. It's very simple. When you are writing, please use simple sentences. Keep it short, right? We call it skis. Keep it short and simple. Use terminologies that are common. We don't promote company or whatever jargons. If it's your company, don't promote their jargons. We want things that are acceptable, things that are technical, that are known. So, writing the paper backward. Remember your purpose. Get to the point. Present conclusion first. Then from there, you will describe how you got or how to get the results. Then you come to see, remember you're moving from the back. Then you come to the processes or the method that you use. We call it the methodology. If there are theories, you present the theories, and that explains the processes. Now, we'll leave it about 2 or 4 slides, then we will close from there. Evaluate what you have written. Very, very important. After you have written, go through it very well. Ask yourself whether it's good enough. It's thorough. Please have a colleague to help you to proofread your work. So somebody who was not part of the work or the project, give it to him for him to read. Give it to the colleague who was also part, your co-authors. Give it to them for them to read. We want you to edit your work. We don't want errors, grammatical errors, spelling errors, run-on sentences, and no clarity. Edit for clarity when you are done. You see, when you edit your work, you realize that your first work that you write is just a draft. There is no way your draft will be close to the final work. There will be a lot of corrections. Sometimes you write paper, it will take you about 5 months, 3 months. In evaluating what has been written, please, those extraneous information that are not necessary, there's no connection. It's not just getting 10 pages or 11 pages. The quality of our paper can even be 3 pages. There's no problem with that. We are looking for quality paper, not extraneous information. Those informations, delete it. Then if you need to acknowledge 1 or 2 or 3, then you say acknowledgements, plural. If the person is only one person you want to acknowledge, you say acknowledgement. But if more than one, say acknowledgement. But not always needed, it depends. But if you are sponsored by your university, your company, your partners, acknowledge them. It's not easy to sponsor people. Maybe they will sponsor you for you to travel, acknowledge them. If maybe you are the paper, you have some grants and funding from somebody, acknowledge the person. But it's not always needed, necessary. I've talked about the second abstract, make it good. You need to rewrite it, don't use that. So there's no need for me to repeat myself here. If there is nomenclature, you can add it depending on what you've done. If you use symbols, define them. That is the nomenclature. And these symbols must be SPE symbols, standard symbols from SPE. Because you are presenting it to SPE conference, so it shouldn't be any symbols. And the symbols must be listed in alphabetical order. So please note some of these things. This is where sometimes some students are found wanting. Copy and pasting. You see, you try to check the similarities of their paper. Sometimes 46%, 70%. If you want your paper to be accepted, you need to check for plagiarism. When we say plagiarism, what are we trying to say? If you steal someone's work, it means you are plagiarized. So when you are sending the document to SP, do not plagiarize. What is plagiarism? Presenting someone's work or idea as your own, with or without their consent. By incorporating it in your work without fully acknowledging them. It means you have taken somebody's work. So please don't steal. I remember one, I don't know whether, yes, the lawyer said, they are stealers. So in paper writing, they are also stealers. Your paper will be checked for similarity using maybe Turnitin or other softwares. If it is more than 20%, most of the journals will not even accept your paper. So please avoid plagiarism. Cite your sources. Plagiarism may be intentional or reckless, but when we see some of these things, there's no way your paper is going to be accepted. So some of your papers will not be accepted if they run it through plagiarism test and they realize that the similarity is more than 20%. So if you don't have such a software, you can let somebody help you to run it. Don't steal people's work. It's from those who have written papers, the experts. Is that you should support your argument with references. It makes your work very strong. But remember that you are going to present to audience. You are writing to a group of people. Keep them in your mind so that you can write to them. When you are done, sometimes when I'm done with my paper, I come to my office, I print and I start reading it aloud to see whether it makes sense. I want to see how it sounds. It should be smooth and consistent. That is quality writing. The writing must be quality. You may have technically sound information, but the quality of writing will be bad. If it is bad, then you will not be able to communicate. So you should read it aloud to yourself to make sure that it sounds smooth. Then ask yourself, consistently ask yourself if you can improve your paper's readability. If you do this, you have very good paper. Then you submit to SPE. You have to, the SPE will send you what we call author's kits information. The author's kits information will contain some, even PowerPoint, they will give you template. They will give you template for the paper in Word document. It comes with deadlines. So to submit, they will give you all these templates. So they will tell you, create manuscript in SPE MS Word template. Use it. Don't use your own template. So the author kit instruction, follow it. They will tell you how you should cite your document. Please follow it. Include figures and table in your manuscript, but it can be created separately. Before you upload, please read to make sure that you are satisfied with what you want the world to know, because you want it to be accepted. You want people to read. It should be well presented. And they will ask you intellectual property. Maybe you need to get some company clearance if you are working in a company, and the rest get their clearance to ensure that you have not plagiarized and have cited the work of others correctly, because that one to somebody's intellectual property. Don't submit an abstract for the same work to more than one meeting at a time. Maybe one meeting in Lagos, another meeting in Asia, and one abstract. Please, we don't do that. If you send an abstract to maybe Ghana, wherever, SPE session for a conference, don't send it to Nigeria. I'm almost done. Transfer your copyright and sign They will ask you to do do it so that you fulfill all requirements. So you will present your paper. When your work has been accepted, you need to present your paper. Please prepare very well. Think about the story you want to share. When you go, don't read your slides. Always rehearse. Right? Rehearse. Sometimes you'll be in a room, then you talk to the walls, because they will give you some time where you need to present within that time. If you have peers, call them, present to them. Sometimes you need to practice answering certain questions that you may anticipate. Because remember, when you present, we will ask you questions. So for me, I know you are going to ask questions, so it is not a problem at all. You cannot do academic presentation like this without question. When you go for conferences, they will ask you questions. Your slides must be good. SPE will give you template. Follow the template. Make all illustrations readable. Don't try to sell your company. There must be headline for each slide, like what I have done, and should be supported with discussions. Make it good. You can use font size like Tahoma area rather than the old type, Calibri, Times New Roman. I mean, it's not so nice in PowerPoint presentation. So make your PowerPoint presentable, legible, and accurate. The heading, you can use font style like Broadway, Bernard, MT, like what I have used here. Minimum of 36, maximum of 54, it will be nice. Please limit the use of animation. You see, there's no animation. You limit it. It is technical presentation. We are not presenting, to kids where we need to, I don't even like animation in some of these things. Check your grammar for accuracy, your spellings on the PowerPoint. Don't have a PowerPoint with all caps like what you have seen here. At least I'm running out of time. That is why I'm moving fast. Use color to highlight text. Please keep your figures simple. Thick lines, large symbols. You don't want, sometimes people cannot read. It should be readable. It should be readable. If you want to use colors, let it be moderate. If you want to emphasize something and want to use colors, it should be moderate. And minimize the text on each slide. You can have a light text on dark background. So the number of bullets, you need to minimize it. But you can follow this rule, 666. Not more than 6 bullet points per slide. Not more than 6 words per bullet. Every 6 slides, if possibly you can do a graph so that people will not get bored. The presentation will not be boring. At least that is also better. Then, guys, SPE Ghana session, start work. Let's start writing. Thank you. I'm done, moderator.
Thank you so much, Prof. Very, 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 very detailed presentation. A lot of room for myself and for experts here. So the students, I know you have a lot of questions to ask. I would like to change my pattern a bit this evening. I will ask Dr. Rivenson to come on briefly for like 10 to 15 minutes. Then we can take the questions together. So, Dr. Rivenson, if you can hear me, kindly share your screen and then let's have you. All right, thank you so much.
Hi, so good evening, everybody. And just as the moderator just said, Prof has just done justice to both tax actually. I never knew Prof was so embedded in SPE tax force like like that. I know Prof very well from another side of the world. So good to have you here, Prof Ronnie. You've not been in touch for a while, but I mean, when I saw your name on the post, I was like, yes.
Brother, we need to talk.
We'll talk. Thank you so much. So I'll go straight to the point. I was sitting here like, wow, it's like we have not had a chat He has not seen my slides, but his slides were so much like mine. I had to go and delete all my slides and keep few of them so that we don't have any repetition. But for those who have heard me speak on this topic, Prof has done so much justice to it. And let me bring some things from the jury point of view. I mean, having judged SPC for the past 10 years on a global level and even the regional level. So, I mean, I'm sure the moderator can end it with this, that SP, Define has so many things to give you. So I'm not going to waste the time on that. So just 2 points I'm going to pay attention to. Today is the SPC, that is the paper contest, and presented Tenka papers. Yeah. So I'm just going to enlighten you on, after your abstract has been selected, what we expect of you. Sometimes your abstract to be selected, you come and present, and we never want to see you again. And I'm happy Prof mentioned few of the things we look out for when students are presenting. We understand that you are students, you're not experts like Prof and myself. So when we are presenting, we are judged with a different status quo because we are academia. But when students are presenting, especially the bachelor students, we don't really worry you so much as compared to even the PhD presenting, right? So the SPC, just to enlighten some few things, we're going to have the PhD session, the master's session, and the bachelor session. This particular lecture is being handled for you or being delivered because of the SPC, that is student paper contest that we're going to have in Ghana for the whole of Africa. That's why I'm very happy to see students from Uganda, Ethiopia, Namibia. I've seen a lot of students from other African countries on this platform. I'm happy to have you here. So we're going to have the good characters of a Tenka paper. Prof mentioned all of these. There's none of these that he missed. A pleasant abstract, because that's where you start from. It's the abstract that will attract you to, first of all, even write a paper, right? So for those who saw my status on WhatsApp last week, you realize that 2 of my topics have been accepted by SPE, and I have only 2 months to write the full thesis, or the write-up for publication in August at NAIS this year. I think I spent equal amount of time writing abstracts as writing papers, because it is an overview of the entire paper. And if not well presented, you're not going to be called to even write the paper itself. And for your case, it's only the winners whose work will be converted into papers. You are going to just make presentations. That is why we're going to focus on presentations and abstract today. So the overall purpose of the experiment or principal objectives should be addressed. The problem to be studied has to be clearly defined. And now I like how Prof put it. It could be an review. It could be a review of an existing paper, and the fact that you have a new methodology to approach the same problem. Why not? It's a problem to be studied. We're looking at easier way, cheaper way to do things. So it's also accepted in paper writing. All right. Experimental method, material use, main results, main conclusion, references. I mean, he touched on this, so I'm not going to waste my time on this. Now, when it comes to SP, I'll say marking. These are the 3 areas that we look at. So even though I'm not going to give you the marking scheme, these are the 3 things that we look out for. Overall visual appeal, and Prof touched on that. So where you need to bold in some keywords, and it's good for yourself. It's good for yourself, for you to remember the emphasis, that you need to emphasize those points. Color them, but don't make it them red, yellow, green, brown, indigo mixed on one slide. It doesn't look good. Or I would say it doesn't look sexy. All right, laying the way to make your presentation visually appealing. So the layout of figures, text, quality of display. Oral. I love the way Nigerians present. I don't know if there's any Nigerian student here, but you guys are awesome. The boldness in presenting is, I don't know, is amazing. And it comes with practice. And Prof mentioned that you need to practice. I remember my first presentation, my first SP presentation in Kazakhstan. I was shivering like a pregnant fish. Obviously, I didn't win the competition, but lesson was learned. I went back home, learned hard, and I've never competed in any student competition and not win from, I mean, whichever year. But the knowledge of material is very important. Present the paper as if you wrote it, but not written for you. All right. Many of you will read a slide as if you're not even sure of what you're reading. No, it doesn't work like that. Critical analysis, digress when useful. Engage the audience. Don't look on the slide or don't look at the back of the audience. Look into their eyes. All right. I look in the middle of the forehead. You think I'm looking in your eyes. I'm not looking in your eyes. So pay attention to them, engage them. All right. So one may ask, you may be wondering why I chose this. Engage them in those kind of words. All right. Let them feel part of you. Then the content. I think this is where the chunk of the marks are. Ideally, we don't know how the thesis or how the literature would look like. So it's actually the content that will make us give you the marks. And it will tell us how useful this research is to the industry, all right? So today you realize that most of the research being published are energy market oriented, optimization of operations. I mean, the dynamics of typical drilling things are changing. So be abreast with the new, the era. All right. I remember 2012, it was all about RSS. Those were into drilling, the rotary structural systems by Schlumberger. It was about ERD those times. It was about, the theoretical, sorry. All right. It was about the theoretical apex of crude oil finds, but now it's changing because of energy transition, right? So look at how best you can apply AIs in the research. Just to be brief here, keep it simple. Keep your PowerPoint simple, all right? Don't come and wow us. Because remember, for student competition, we are experts judging you. There's nothing you're going to show that Prof hasn't seen. There's nothing in reservoir or even economics that I don't know. So don't come as if you're going to wow us, but keep it simple and presentable. Synchronize your speaking with the build up and transitioning, all right? And this is very critical, very, very critical. Somebody will go to the next slide and look at the slide for a few seconds before they say, oh, yes, I remember. We don't like that. We want it to be like, so in the next slide, you will see, and you show the slide, all right? That tells us a lot that you really, really know your stuff. Don't go to the next slide thinking about what to say. It is not good. Use video and audios when appropriate. There's extra marks for that. If you're able to key in a video contest, for those who are doing something around drilling, if you can show some palms, or you can show some hammering and some stuff, design of your well bowl, it's allowed. For those doing other animatics, it will bring a pleasant presentation. Prof said it very wisely. Keep it short, slowly and sweet. The 3S. Don't rush. Take your time. All right. So there's an adage that says no one ever complained on a presentation that's too short. So if you make a presentation too short, but the content is delivered, it's a bravo. Remember, you have a timeline. If you exceed it, that's some marks. So keep it what? Sexy. Keep it short, slowly, and sweet. Rehearse. I think that has been said already. If you have a dog, it's better to rehearse in front of your dog. I normally used to rehearse. Now I don't because I've presented everything already. But I used to present in front of my mirror. So I know how I look now. I know how my facial appearance looks now because I've rehearsed over time and time again. Tell necessary stories. Prof said it. I'm just repeating it, just to emphasize the importance of telling stories. It makes your presentation attractive and the audience pay attention to it. Make good eye contact. I said already, please. It's very important. It sounds very difficult, but believe me, it takes away some burden from you when able to have that confidence into looking into people's eyes. Move away from the podium. I always do that. Anybody who has seen me present will never see me standing behind the podium, unless it's a very high level, like recently I did on energy transition on behalf of the energy minister. That one I was forced because the microphone was just on the podium. But through me, my picture is to leave the podium and connect with the audience. Not just because I'm a lecturer, but also because I believe in engagement, right? Check out the presentation room. And it's very important. I remember a presentation I made in China. I was so confident. I didn't go to check out the presentation room. And I went immediately as I was going to speak. I said, what? The audience was huge, more than I thought. So I got frightened and the presentation didn't go well. That's why I put it here. This is practical, based on experience, okay? Digress where necessary, tell stories. I mean, but don't lose focus, all right? Know what slide is coming next. I think I've mentioned it already. Do's and don'ts. Very fast, stay objective. Eliminate opinions. And I think I feel from a writing, all right? And even from a speaking. Remain technically objective, all right? That is why my next point says, so you therefore choose passive voice instead of active voices. So instead of I chose X, you say S was chosen, all right? Prof mentioned it, your grammar is very important. Recently, if Celestina or any of the session chairs or session officers are here, SP had to reject several papers written by Ghanaians because of English, because of grammar. And it was a pain for me. I mean, knowing that this is very important for SPE. So use past tense, present tense appropriately. Use past tense to describe things that have already happened and use present tense to describe or indicate those things that are still occurring, all right? So please, one more thing, form compound nouns as much as possible. So for example, highly competitive mobile phone market. Highly competitive mobile phone market. Instead of a market of mobile phones, which is highly competitive. No. You hear doesn't sound even well. A market of mobile phones, which is highly competitive. And the rule is an adverb coming first, an adjective, and now and head now. Okay, so highly competitive mobile phone market. So, like again, this lecture was organized just to attract you students. All right, even though I know it's very useful for YPs who are interested in writing, I make sure I publish 5 papers every year. That's been my goal from 2007. All right, so for those YPs who are here, it's also for you. But this is for students who are interested in presenting at the SPC during the SP African Annual Student Congress happening live here in Accra, Ghana. All right. And I also want to use this opportunity to invite Professor Browning to be part of the jury. I'm going to talk to you after this so that we'll see how best we can do the selection of papers and also help anybody who is ready to send anything. Yes, so thank you for attention. I hope I was brief as I could. And let's connect. Active on LinkedIn for anybody who wants to connect with me. Thank you. Over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Revenson and Prof for the detailed presentation. Participants, it is now about time we take questions. So you can unmute yourself and ask your question, or you can type your questions in the chat box and I will read it out. We should be out of here in the next 10 minutes. So let's be quick about it. Let's be quick about it. So it's time for questions. It's time for questions. Anyone at all can, if you want to ask the question. Yes.
Good evening. Yeah, please, can you hear me? Yes, boss.
I can hear you. Hold on a bit for me.
Okay.
Let's go straight to the questions. Let the questions be concise and short so that our speakers will be able to address them quickly. All right. Wilbert, please go ahead.
Yeah, Prof, thank you for this awesome presentation. My question is, we in the petroleum industry, how do we choose our topic for a paper? Because most of the works have been done by some people. And how do we choose our topics? If you want to write a paper, how do you choose a topic for that? Any guidelines for us, Dr. Prof?
So Prof, I just want to put this, Banini, I would have to jump into another meeting. So Prof will handle all the questions on our behalf, okay? So
That's
Prof,
good.
please, over to you. I'll call you after my meeting.
That's okay. I'm around. That's okay.
Thank you.
Yes, so I'm listening. That's the first question. So I'm putting it down. So that if you have the next question, I want to take it. So maybe
Hello.
the next question, so that I'll address it together.
Hello, Prof. Good evening. Please, it's regarding the plagiarism you're talking about. What if you are done with your paper and you send it through a site to check your plagiarism percentage? And let's say the site is a foreign site for the people you are writing to. And in case they also try to go through your paper using their own sites and identify the foreign sites you used as your percentage viewer to be a site that you plagiarize from, how are you going to fix that kind of problem?
I didn't get it, but I'll try to see if I'll be able to answer. I didn't get it well.
All right, if you can write your question in the chat, I'll be able to summarize for Prof. Please take notice of these questions on our chat. Mandy Jomaku is asking, what is the difference between a problem and a gap? What is the difference between a problem and a gap? And then Johnson Ansadankwa is asking, how do you modify your presentations for different audiences? How do you modify your presentation for different audiences? The last one on the chat here for me is from Perpetua Ai. Please, how best can you write technical paper on the topic given to you without any experience in the field? How best can you write a technical paper on the topic given you without any experience in the field? I would like you to respond to these few questions before we take the next set of questions. Thank you so much.
Okay, so I think I can also see, so if they would type, that would be better. So let me try to see what is the difference between a problem and a gap, right?
Yes, yes.
A gap and a problem is basically they are similar, because when we say we are looking for a gap to be able to fill, the gap could be a problem, right? So definitely there's a problem, and that problem is a gap that you want to fill. So it's basically the same thing. I want to fill a certain gap. That means that gap, that problem in there have not been solved. And that is what you want us to know, that this is the problem, this is the gap that we have not seen, though we have seen, but enough work hasn't been done there. So it becomes a problem. So some people say, try to state the problem or define the problem. So in the problem, you're trying to demonstrate that there's a gap. So basically, it's almost the same. Because if you say you are defining a problem, it's a problem, and a problem is a gap. So in the problem definition, you try to let us really know the problem or the gap. So basically, it's almost the same. So how do I modify your presentation for different audience? Your presentation. I don't know whether the presentation is this presentation or what presentation. How do you modify your presentation for a different audience? Fine. So for example, let me try to chip in this. If I'm to present this same presentation to maybe primary school people, I'll reduce a lot of information in here and bring a lot of diagrams. Something that they'll be able to appreciate, they'll be able to see. So you need to know the technical ability. For example, if they are technical people, then basically you don't say maybe drilling and try to explain what drilling is. So it depends on the level. If it is, let's say, a first year student that I'm presenting, or for primary school, I want to present some of these information, I'll bring in more diagrams. So that will be the difference, so that at least they will be able to appreciate. But looking at your level, there are certain things, if I even talk about it, I will not even explain. So if they are below your level, I'll reduce the information so that we're able to speak more for them to understand. And perhaps maybe one meeting wouldn't be enough because of their level. So I think that is that one too. Please, how best can you write a technical paper without topic given to you without an experience? Oh, you can do that. I mean, definitely you, for example, that's why if you are writing paper, you also need to get in contact with one or two so that they can also be co-authors. You can have an experienced person in there. Definitely you have somebody, your mentor, who will be able to chip in one or two things. For example, if you are presenting experimental work, people have been able to do some of these work. So what you need to do is be able to read. When you read, it will give you a fair idea as to how we present experimental work. And experimental work, definitely, if you do it, you'll be able to see the trends and the problems that you need to compare with others. So it shouldn't be a problem. But if that is your first time, you need to attach yourself to maybe your mentor to be able to guide you so that you can write a very good paper. First, starting is sometimes very difficult. That is why you need to attach yourself. But you don't need to be very experienced before you can in the field before you can write a paper. Maybe your paper is not a case study; it is a simulation type of work. So you are just reporting on what you see. So you analyze based on what you see. You compare with others to see whether there is it really compares where it agrees. There is a contrast, and it can be done. It's not necessary that you must be in the field to be experienced. Sometimes I can also think that some people who are not in the field, based on what they are doing simulation and the rest, they can even write, sorry to say, a better paper than somebody who is on the field. It's a skill that you need to develop with time. It's not really tied to the field work that you do or you being, let's say, a professional in the field or working in the field for many years. You can work in the field for many years, but you'll still not be able to write a technical paper. So I think that is a skill that you need to develop, attaching yourself to somebody, and it comes as with time. Then what else? What abstract can those in the marine engineering field write about, since we have no background in the petroleum field? Don't worry, just try. Go to AMPETRO, go to sites that write paper in marine engineering. Try to know, read. You know the current papers that has been written. You know the trend. You know the trend in the industry. When you read, it will give you an idea of the state of research, and from there you pick it up. So I cannot tell you that maybe now that is the current marine research area that you can. I myself too, I'm not a marine engineer, but what you need to do, if there are journals that are related, sites that write papers on marine engineering, visit that site, read journal, literature review. Literature review will give a fair idea, will tell you what is happening. Maybe they are using AI for marine work and the rest. Then you will know that this is the current research area. And out of that, you'll be able to develop a problem and be able to write on that problem. When you read paper, getting to the conclusion and the rest, they will tell you, even the conclusion, some will even tell you that they have not been able to do this. And out of that, you'll be able to also take it up from there. So read papers, read literature, that is literature, papers, and the papers will help you to know the state of research in the marine engineering field. I don't know if I've been able to answer your question. How different is proposal abstract from the actual abstract? Oh, they are different, right? If you have written a proposal abstract before and the final abstract, that is your work. The proposal abstract, I call it the first abstract. It is the one that you are going to send it to the meeting for you to be maybe admitted into that meeting, for you to be accepted, for your abstract to be accepted, for your paper to be presented, or for you to submit your paper. So sometimes, you see, You are not done with the paper writing and the rest. So your final one, sometimes it can even be shorter than the one that you sent earlier on for you to be accepted into the meeting. So the difference is that the first one is to help you to be accepted into the meeting. And the second one is the actual one, the final one, which can be different. It can even be shorter because perhaps you are done with the work and you have seen one or two things that you think the first one, you shouldn't have added it and you have added it, and this time you don't want to add it. So most of the time there are some difference in there. I don't know if I've been able to answer it. As a petroleum student, mostly we have to look upon other people's work so that it can help us build our presentation, especially the videos. Can that be accepted when brought out? As a petroleum student, mostly we have to look upon other people's work so that it can help us build our presentation, especially the videos. Can that be accepted when brought out? I don't get the question. So that person, maybe perhaps you can ask your question using your the speaker to do that. I'm not getting that question. Supposing after your paper, you turn it in for plagiarism and you have 12%, and then your panel also use different checker for plagiarism and they have, oh, there's no way it will give you the same rate. It will give you the same results. It will give you the same result. It will not really, because it's picking out the information from what has been published. So it will give the same information. There's no way the panel, your test will be 12% and the panel will be 25. We write papers, we check 12, and when it goes outside too, it's the same thing. We write, for example, when it comes to UMass here, we have a 10 it in. If you are a postgraduate student, it should be less than, let's say, 20 and below. The student will use it, check, and there's also somebody who has to check it for you. They all use the same platform and give them the same results. I don't think different software will give you different. If there is give a different result, it's going to be plus or minus 1%. I don't think there's going to be any deviation from that. So it will almost be the same. When given a limited time range to present, is it okay to include diagram to quicken the pace? Yes, you can see diagrams. Diagrams are very, very important, but don't let everything there be diagrams. It will also be boring. So you can use diagram so that at least you'll be able to, but make sure that your diagrams are not many so that you'll be able to speak within the time. So diagrams are all very, very important. Tables are very, very important. They'll be able to visualize what is going on. It will also make your presentation quicker and simple for the audience to appreciate. As you said in your presentation, that every C slide must include graphic. What is it? As you said in your, oh, okay, that is also part of the question. Yes, I said if everything, with technical writing, definitely you have graph, you have table. You are making a presentation and everything there, all your slides, there's no graphic, there's nothing. It makes it boring, right? It makes it boring. So but at least you cannot have graphics throughout. Introduction, graphic, this, meta graphic, this. No, that one too is be able to blend the two, and make sure that you don't have plenty documents, right, to present. You need to work within the time. That is why you need to practice. If you are able to practice, you will know that these slides I will be able to present within the time. If you don't practice, you go overboard and they will not allow you because they will be working within time. So a blend will be better, but not everything graphic. It will not be nice. But you will not also have all the presentation slides. You have word. I mean, there's no graphic, there's no table. That one too is also weird. I mean, be able to blend the two. Please, Prof, can you take the difference between abstract for me again? Oh, they are all abstract. The abstract are the same. What I'm trying to say is that it's the same abstract. The abstract must be short. It will have methods. It will have conclusion. yes, some sort of in small introduction and the rest. They are all abstract. Issue 350, they are all abstract, but one is submitted for you to be admitted into the meeting. That is the first abstract. But the second or the last abstract is an abstract that is in your work, the final one. You see, you have not written your paper yet. And maybe after the editing and the rest, there are plus or minus that you want to remove or you want to add. When you do that, there is likely that there will be difference in the first one you sent to them and the one that you have added to your main work. Sometimes if you have written a paper before, you send an abstract for admission into the program, you realize that what you also write in the main work, there can be a slight difference, but it's the same principle. It should be a short 350. It should have some methods. It should have conclusion supported with evidence and the rest. I mean, that makes up an abstract, but one is presented for you to be admitted into the program or into the into the conference before you write the main paper. In the main paper is also an abstract, the same principle, but sometimes because you now have the paper, there can be one or two differences that you want to add or remove. Then that is the difference between the two, but it is the same 350. If you're also lucky, it could be the same abstract, but mostly you can see one or two, because when you have your final paper and the contribution from others, it's likely that what you submitted will not be the same as what is going to be in the paper. I don't know if I've been able to explain that, but the principle of writing an abstract is purely the same. Prof, just recently I wrote a report, and after the report used X-Checker for it, and I had 0 plagiarism. But when the lecturer used, I don't know the X-Checker whether it's a correct software, but please use the ones that are recognized, right? So you use the one that are recognized. If you use ones that are not recognized, it will even tell you that it is 0 plagiarism. But you yourself, you know that you did copy and paste from somebody's work. So if it's giving you 0 plagiarism, it's likely it's not a correct checker. Use the recognized ones, right? Instead of the S checker, because well, how will it be 0%? I'll be surprised. Maybe you are not using the correct software. Use the correct and recognized software, not any online stuff that doesn't have any basis. Okay, I think these are the questions, right? Somebody asked, how do you choose a topic? You choose a topic based on literature review, right? Read papers, read. The papers will tell you the current situations, where we have reached now in drilling. What are the new areas? When we read some papers, the papers will even tell you that in my paper, I was not able to solve this problem. I had a limitation. This is my scope. Somebody can also research into this. So to be able to get topics, it's about literature. It's about literature. If you have maybe a mentor who is also working on in a certain a certain topic, you can also your mentor can help you. But mostly topics are gotten from literature review. It will tell you the current state of the area you want to work on. I think these are the questions that I can see on the meeting chat. So, Prof, please, can you recommend some of the plagiarism sites for us? Honestly, what we use in my school, I did not even know that the site has, I don't know whether those ones are recognized one, but most of the institutions have softwares. More commonly is Turnitin. That one you need to buy. The institution will have to buy and pay, and students can use it. The online checkers and the rest, I have not tried it. I don't think the way somebody is getting 0% and the rest, I may not have some confidence in those checkers. But if you have a friend, let him check using his university software, could be Turnitin or that. Like, these things are not free. Nobody will just give you a checker or a software online for you to use. How can he pay his workers? So they are standard, there are better softwares for you to check your plagiarism. I mean, the online may not help. For example, somebody said 0. How can it be 0? You write and there's no similarity. It's not possible. But it means that that checker is not correct. So use an approved one, commercial one. I mean, those one that you can be trusted. Okay.
All right.
I think, moderator, these are the questions. Yeah.
Yes,
I don't know
please.
if I've been able
These are the
to
questions,
answer the question.
and you've been able to do justice to all of them. Thank you so, Prof, for dear participants. I think time this is where we would have to end this evening's conversation. We are not ending here. If you have more questions to Prof and Dr. Rivenson, you can send them to me privately, or you can contact them if you have access to them. I'll get the slides and share from both speakers, and I also want to put all of you to take notice of these few announcements. We all know that the African Students Paper Contest has been open for submission, and we are entreating all of you to do your best to put in an application. The deadline for this is Wednesday, 5th February 2023. Let's all take notice of that and then put in our applications before time. As Dr. Rivenson has said, Ghana is hosting the African Congress, and it's happening at Legon. Let's get prepared for this all-important assignment. We'll come to you next month with another exciting conversation. We'd like to thank you all for coming. I would like to especially appreciate Prof for making time out of his busy schedules to take us through this wonderful presentation. Same goes to Dr. Rivenson, very busy, but have the time to also take us through the paper review. I would like to also appreciate all of you on the call, especially Sheena and Professor Richard Murray for making time to join the call. James, I know you're on the road, but you are still on this call. Thank you all for coming, and we'll have to convey here next month for another interesting conversation. Thank you all and have a good evening. My name again is Philip Koshi-Bangini. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right.